Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Higher Moment Mastermind. I'm Shira Lotzer, happy to be joined by Alki Thompson, my faithful buddy, and we're going to help you out here with your job search questions. So the way this works, for those of you who've been here before, it's an open Q&A. Any job search question on your heart and mind, Alki and I will jump into the pond and help swim with you a little bit. And then time permitting, we'll do some networking. I think with the size of our group today, we'll probably keep it in one room. We don't necessarily have to do breakouts. And we're here to support you. So who would like to kick us off with a question? It could be anything that you would like, anything from resumes, recruiters, interviews, networking, all the things. Who's got something? Oh, Erin.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Thanks for making this space. Um, my question is around interviews. I'm happy to say I have had some interviews lately, which
Good.
is
Good, good,
nice
good.
because it seems like it's either feast or famine.
Mhm.
So I made it to the final round, which is next week,
Yeah,
and it's a really interesting role. It's, my field that I'm passionate about, maternal and newborn health globally.
yeah.
It's a faith-based NGO, which I haven't worked for, but I've heard of, and it seems,
Yeah.
like a good organization. The role, well, although we've made it to the final round, there hasn't been any discussion at all around salary or
Mhm.
benefits or anything.
Oh,
Um, I am prepared to take a cut. It'll probably be half or maybe less than half of what my UN salary was,
mhm.
which, isn't necessarily ideal, but these are tough times, and especially in my field. So, and the role is also, it's definitely a bit lower than what I had before.
Mhm.
So I mean, being optimistic, if I get an offer, um, I'm debating, like, part of me thinks, well, yeah, I should take it because it's meaningful. It's in my field. My field, global health, international development has really been so hard hit.
Sure,
It's hard to get a job.
sure.
But I guess maybe not so much the salary cut, but well, partly the salary cut, but taking a step back, let's say, or taking a lower role.
Sure.
Um, and I know, of course, I could do it for a while and keep looking for something else. Or maybe I'll love it and I'll think, well, I can manage on this salary. It doesn't matter. But I'm just wondering in terms of like the long-term prospects of
Mhm.
my career, in terms of taking a role that's, I hate to say a step down, but certainly, a lower level than what I was doing. So I
Well,
appreciate your advice and insights.
so as you know, Alki and I are just like, yeah, we get it. I think everybody on the call gets it, right? This is look, what you're experiencing here is the most normal thing in the world. Let's just acknowledge that. Okay, everything you said is very, very understandable. And look, it's obviously a personal choice. And of course, we don't know the specifics and how low down is it and all of those things. Look, on the plus side of the column, yes, of course, you get employed, you get right to get back in your field and do all the great work. And also showing your value can lead to future opportunities, higher level work, more impact when they see what you're capable of. Sometimes the role can naturally expand. With that said, you'd have to have reasonable expectations. You can't come in expecting that, but more making yourself available, adding the value so that they can go, oh my gosh, Erin, you can do da 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 da. Let's grow you to this, right? And that is absolutely possible. It happens. You just can't expect it to happen. You just have to be like, okay, maybe it will. As for how it shows up on your resume, yeah, I mean that it frankly can be somewhat of an issue, but I guess it all depends on what we're talking about. I know this is a public call, so we're not asking you to like be all that specific, but do understand too that in at least in the DC area, titles mean lots of things. I mean, a manager at one organization can be a manager over here. I mean, that could be a $200,000 difference. Literally, there's just it. We're all over the map in terms of titles. So sometimes you just have to explain the role and the scope in the resume, in your LinkedIn description, that kind of thing. So that's a subtle thing that you'd have to just cross that bridge at some point. I've even seen people to be creative and not actually put the title, but more the role. Like I have a friend of mine, she works at Microsoft, and the title that she was given was just not really her level. it just didn't make any sense, right, for the market. And so she just sort of put this term, it was called customer success, and she just put customer success. She didn't even put manager, director, whatever it was. And it was interesting, like, okay, okay. It was her function. And she got away with it. It was fine. But the point is that there are creative things that you can do if that comes to mind. So that's how I would say this. And then the other thing about salary, you alluded to that. Look, it's very, very, and you didn't say this, but I'm just back of mind, right? We want you to make sure that you are negotiating well. You don't want to come into this thinking, oh, hat in hand, I'll take what I can get. And this is for everybody on this call. No, we're not just talking to Aaron, it's everybody. Especially when you're in transition, it's the easiest thing to roll, say, oh, I'll take whatever. This is your best time to negotiate. If they want you and they offer you the job, they want you. That's why they're offering you the job. They don't want to lose you. Okay. So don't think that just because they're giving you something and you're in transition that you should just take whatever. No, no. This is a business negotiation. You are the other side of this equation. You're worth the wage. You're worth a good wage. Now it has to be a realistic wage, right? Wage, you can't ask for 300,000 when the role is only worth 150, obviously. But if it's worth 150, you ask for 175, go for it. Go a little up. Okay. They can always talk you down, but you're not going to be able to get them up, which is also why you never, ever, ever want to say range. Like when they say, so what are you looking for? You don't say, I'm looking for 125 to 150. They will give you 125 flat
Right.
out. You have to be thoughtful in how you frame this. So at the end, and I'm sorry that they haven't mentioned salary. They kind of, hopefully they would have.
Surprising, right?
Yeah, it's a
Make
little
it to the final
surprising.
round and
It's a
yeah.
little surprising that they didn't post it or that they didn't even ask you at all. But what I would do is do a little bit of research, and AI can be helpful, but at least to get a sense as to what they might be offering for this kind of organization right now at this level. Do your best to get AI to give you somewhat of a range, then go to the high end and maybe even a little bit beyond that. Because if they say to you, whatever they say, hey, would you, again, just using my 150 number, that's just middle road. They say, hey, we'd like to offer you 150 for this, especially if they haven't told you, shared it. You can say, well, you know what, I actually was looking for, and then say a little bit of a higher number, whatever, let's say it's 175. You say, well, what can we do to get me closer to my target? What can we do? And then that means they're going to go back to the drawing board. They're going to have to. Every employer, please understand this, everyone. Every employer expects candidates to negotiate one time.
Right.
I'm letting that hang in the air. Please understand this. Every employer expects it one time. Unless they say firm and final. If they say in the job posting, we can't do any penny more than 150, that's fine. Or you'll know that they'll say the salary is $150,283. That's like a government kind of thing. Then that really is the final number. But otherwise, if they just say our target is 125 to 150, assume they have at least $10,000 more in the budget for this. There's always that little what I call the parenthesis number that they're not telling you about that they can usually go to. So you can shoot for the 175 and have them come back to 160. Does that make sense? Yeah.
That's really good to know. Yeah, very
Yeah.
helpful. And in case they can't budge much on the salary or the salary is much, even if we
Benefits,
negotiate
right.
and yeah, could I try to negotiate? Like this title is like whatever health specialist, and I used to be senior. What could I
Yeah,
try to
sure.
negotiate?
Try.
Well, could you make the
Absolute.
title
Could you?
senior
Yeah,
health,
which they
whatever?
may or may not like. It's a title's good for you for your resume. It might upset the apple cart internally because if they now title you senior, now they have to pay you more.
Right.
There's an HR lens here as well. Okay, they
Yeah.
have to think about equity and pay structures and pay bands and titles and things, but they might. You just don't know. Maybe they could bring you in at the low band of that higher salary. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
for you, your resume is important, and you can say that to them. Because optically, I need to be seen as staying in this range, title wise.
Right. Okay, that's so helpful. Thank you so much for all the
You're
guidance
you're
and
welcome.
insight.
Before we go to Mark, Alki, you want to jump in?
Yep, the last part was one of the things I was going to bring to the table too. And for everybody on the call, as Shira said, this is this is for everybody. And one of the things you don't know, they haven't mentioned money yet. Also, there hasn't been an offer yet. And so Shira had said a while back, if they want you, which if they offer you, that's a sign like, okay, we're choosing you. So
Mm.
that's one place you haven't gotten yet. You also, I don't know if you know either, how many other people are in this final round? Like, what does final round mean? Are there three other people? Is it just you? But this is a preparation stage for everyone. When it gets to this point, this is your time to prepare these questions that you two just finished discussing and thinking about all of these things. Because I was, when you started, I was thinking negotiate title, negotiate title. If you can't get the money, sure, it's a title conversation, but there's also other questions too that, depending on how that last interview starts, maybe that's the time they're like, all right, well, this is final round, let's discuss money. So they may finally bring it up in the beginning, which then opens the rest of the conversation and the talks for how things may go. Sometimes the final round interview, you've already passed all the tests. This is now just the logistics. They call it an interview, but really this is just a logistical meeting to try to say, all right, here's where the real meat and potatoes happen, and we find out whether or not we can hire you or not. We like you, but now we have to discuss whether or not this can be done. And so everyone, you should always be prepared. First interview, second interview, final interview, to have these types of discussions. But it is a bit, sometimes it can be tricky when they don't mention money at first. But at the same time, you can wait for them. Again, until an offer is presented, it's kind of hard. I mean, it can seem presumptuous sometimes if they haven't said anything. And even if they go through that whole final interview and they're like, all right, that was the last interview. Well, if they say, do you have any questions? That's kind of tricky too, because some people are tempted, like, wait, let's discuss money. And they're like, and you could throw something on the table. So it is kind of hard to know without knowing. And so that stage before an offer is presented is so tough because it puts you in a place. But as far as title, yeah, sure, just covered a lot of what I was going to say as well. And there's many ways to do that too. It can be, can we change the title now? Or you can even lead with a question like, I don't know how this affects internal equity, but because of the resume things and other things, could you consider, a title here, give me my old title, give me this pay, or could you consider at my first review, when do you have reviews? Is it 6 months? Is it 12 months? Can we bump that up after 3 months or 6 months based on performance? Could I get to this title? Same thing with the money. You could do the same thing as well.
Here's a soft way that you can
Really good
approach
tip.
money. Here's a soft way you can approach the money conversation at this stage for you. And you can simply say, obviously ask normal strategic questions, do all the normal questions, but then you can say, so I'm curious, what salary have you budgeted for this role? Nothing wrong with asking that
Mhm.
at all. It's a
Right.
perfectly lovely question, perfectly professional. And then that puts it in their corner for them to say, oh, well. And then once they speak first and they tell you, and they say, well, we budgeted 125 to 150, you
Mhm.
say, oh, is there any way that we can move that top number up a little bit? That's how you'd say it.
Right.
Yeah. And
Okay.
that's also a technical way of asking it, like a businessy, technical, internal way that doesn't really push anyone. It's a neutral question.
Mm-hmm.
What have you budgeted for this
You
role? Which
budgeted,
is
right?
just neutral for every,
Correct.
and it, some of them may still not share, but you've asked in a way that's not like based on you, based on your
Mhm.
experience. Another
Objective.
question I had, you don't have, this could be rhetorical, but I'm curious because I would do this, and Shira would probably do this in the very beginning. If they even discuss that with you, like, hey, we know that your level and your experience is above where this position is, but we'd still like to interview you anyway. Has that happened at all?
Not in this particular round. Some of the other interviews I've had for different organizations, sometimes they'll say something to the effect of, you're clearly overqualified for this role.
Mhm.
Why do you want it? That kind of thing.
If they know what they're doing, they're aware. They should be. If they know what they're doing, they're aware of who they're interviewing.
Yeah.
Again, they're not all experts, on it like us two, but at this point, I assume you've had one, maybe two, maybe even three interviews already. If they're still talking to you, they know. They at least know where you come in at based on your experience. And so
Right.
I think that's where a lot of the rub happens as well is we know who you are. We know what skills, experience, and credentials you bring to the table. Yet we're still talking to you. So if you're still here, we're still here. And that has an effect on negotiations as well, or how the conversation goes. I mean, honestly, they should bring that up first. But if they don't, to Shira's point, you can ask the budget question, and then if they start talking offer, especially when they throw the offer on the table, that's when you can then say, all right, so you like me. I like you guys too. Now let's talk about
And
let's
you
talk about the wedding.
throw the benefits package in there as well. Because if they really, really can't go above the 150, let's say, now it's, can we talk about the total compensation package? Let's break down benefits. What's the cost share for medical? Can I get an extra week of vacation? What can we do here to
Mm-hmm.
round out the compensation? Because frankly, as we all know, the salary is one thing, but what you're paying for benefits, that eats into that money, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
all of that matters.
Benefits,
absolutely.
perks,
Yeah, the
and
health insurance is a big deal to me too, because I'm still on Obamacare and, things
Yeah.
are getting tougher and tougher. And
Yeah.
the
yeah.
last the last thing I'll say to everybody on the call, a lot of people on the call probably know this already, have probably done this already, but yeah, there's specifics we talk about a lot of times, benefits, leave, all of that, but sometimes ask the open question too. Where do you have flexibility, or do you have flexibility anywhere? Are there any perks that we haven't talked about, that we can look at or talk about?
Yeah, excellent ideas, Alka and Sherry. Thank you so much for your help
Sure.
and support.
Absolutely. All right, Mark.
Great advice. Yeah, so I just had a follow-on question about salary negotiations. So I have a potential temp to perm kind of position where the permanent part is them achieving funding for it. So I'm just wondering on negotiation, how heavy do I negotiate up front in a temp role versus then following on in negotiation for a more permanent role? Do I push hard early, and then does that influence the potential and what they're anticipating, what their longer term costs are, or do I commit at a lower rate that and then potentially negotiate for something else in a more permanent position?
It's a great question because this is all about funding, right? This isn't just about, oh,
Yeah,
we have a traditional line item for this,
100%.
Yeah, so I actually would, if I were you, I would talk about that up front. And I mean, of course, I know your situation. So I know you already have a relationship with this organization, which means you're trusted, which means you can have a kind of more thoughtful discussion. And I would say to the CEO, look, I would really love the opportunity to, consider something longer term. Can we look at the whole budget? Can we look at what this would look like upfront? What would this look like if you were to hire me full time? So now you're planting the seed in her mind, right? If you were to hire me full time, let me share with you, what I would need, what you think you could raise. Then let's backdoor that into this and say, okay, well, what can you afford for this temporary assignment? And how would that align with the funding situation? Is that going to eat into it? Like, let's have a holistic conversation now. But again, that's because you already know her. She trusts you. She
Right.
came back to you for this assignment once you did that great work before. So, and she's already even said to you with the hourly rate that she wants to offer you. She's like, oh, she's feeling the pinch. So it's right of you to think like this, but have a holistic conversation and then say, okay, how do we slice and dice this appropriately? That's what I would do.
Great advice. Thank you.
The, what's the big thing that you said there, sure, for everyone too. And again, we may have some pro negotiators on this call, but a lot of job seekers don't think of themselves as negotiators. It's kind of cut and dry, which I think a lot of job seekers are seeing now. You can no longer just sit at the computer and apply for jobs and get a response or find a job. The whole game is changing. So people's minds are beginning to change and realize too, you know what, I can talk to these people, like Mark's internal relationship that he has, or a cousin or a friend or a business partner or a colleague. And that's it. The job seeker mindset just gets you to the table. Once people start talking, take off the form, some of the formalities. They still control a lot of the formalities, but if you can, the closer and sooner you can talk to them in a business way, in a business mindset, a lot of them, I can say this for myself, talking to candidates who, relaxed a bit and said, I get it, Alki. You guys weren't expecting to hire anybody, but you just opened this position. I get it. If you've been a manager before, if you've been a part of a team or anything, and you've had these types of internal discussions, this is the talk that a lot of times works. It disarms them as well to not see you just as a job seeker. You can now start saying, you know what, I get it. This position has to start as a temp. But, have you thought about this before? Because I know that temps can be this, and you spend all of that time, and then in case it doesn't work out, then you got to go back to the drawing boards. Maybe you should consider, can we move the timeline up? Or what types of challenges and restraints are you guys dealing with on your side? And, maybe depending on what you tell me, I've got some flexibilities as well. So that's a business conversation that you're now having. And a lot of times, not necessarily all people, not all HR, not lower level HR folks, but a lot of the manager people at that level, they get it. And so you can have a lot of these conversations with them. And if you can disarm them, at least you're having a real discussion.
And so one other quick thing, I want to address mindset. Most job seekers, when they come into an interview situation, and by the way, Mark, I'm shifting this to the interview normal thing, not what you're doing. Think of the employer here, and they think of themselves here, right? Very normal. Oh, the employer, I'm happy to have a job, and they're going to give me money, and I'm working for them, and it feels very much like this. When you're a consultant, Alki and I are consultants. We feel like this. There's no difference between what we're doing, what you're doing. It's the psychology of it. We're coming at them as colleagues. We're here to provide a service. Guess what? So are you. So are you. That's why we're saying come at this as a business negotiation. That's all that it is. You're providing a fee for service. The only difference between Alki and I and y'all is that we're doing it on a flexible basis, project basis, and you're doing it on a full-time basis, but there's no difference. There's no difference. It is a business negotiation. You come in with that mindset, it's going to change the whole tone of the conversation. It's change how you negotiate, the confidence with which you show up to them. We're professional. You've got something to offer. We have a need. Let's do business together. That's real. It's the difference between W-2 and 1099 is do you sign the front of the paycheck or the back of the paycheck? It's the same thing. It's still work. We get hired, you get hired. Same. So I want you to come in with confidence and say, yep, I have valuable skills to offer. You have a business need. Let's have a business discussion. Is that fair? Okay. Mark, and by the way, I noticed for the first time, we have 3 Marks on this call. It's kind of fun. Mark number 2.
Yeah. Thanks, Cheryl.
Mark 3.
I had an initial interview on Tuesday that I think went very well. And one thing that struck me as the topic of salary came up, one of the first things she asked me is, what's your salary that you're looking for? And I had to stifle the urge to ask, oh, you making me an offer? But I thought, okay, is this a good sign?
They asked you that in the beginning of the interview?
Near the beginning of the interview, yes.
That's actually, it's not about a good sign. That's a sign of a good recruiter. An employer should be asking you that question way up front to save them time and to save you time. You want them to ask you that. It's not about whether it's a good sign. It's just good. It's good protocol for them. Yeah. Now, how do you answer that? It goes back to what we talked about with Aaron.
Right.
You have to have done your research. You have to think. And remember, never, ever give them 2-number range. Never, ever. They will go with the low one. Whereas if you say, hey, what I'm targeting is, and then go kind of a little above what you think that they're going to do. And I recognize you don't know what their salary range is unless they posted it. A lot of people post salary ranges now, but if they don't, you can say, I'm targeting, and you have to think about it. Do you give them a number, or do you give them not a range, but like a mid hundreds or upper hundreds or low hundreds?
Yes.
If you do one of those low, mid, high hundreds or 200s or whatever, you have to be you have to you have to be comfortable with the low end of that mid. Like, so you have to be comfortable with 140. If you say mid hundreds, you have to be comfortable with 140. You can't expect 160. That's if you're comfortable with that.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, I would just say I'm targeting in the $150,000 range or 175 or whatever it is. Yes, it's a little bit of a risk, but if you've done your homework, you should be able to be, relatively in range. And by the way, if you're not, if you go, hey, I'm targeting the 150 range, and they're only offering 100, that tells you something. A, it might be completely the wrong opportunity, A, because the money, and B, the level, kind of to Erin's point, right? This is telling you that they only value this job at 100, which should help you to understand, oh, do I even want to pursue it? Now you might, but maybe not, because that's a gap. So honestly, sharing your salary thoughts in the beginning is very helpful for you and for them.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Lance?
Hi. Just kind of going further on this discussion. So I've seen job postings where they do give you that range, like you're saying, say 100 to 150. And if you know that you should be at 150 or right there, when you were saying to use the language, I'm targeting slightly above maybe that number. So would you say something like I'm targeting slightly above 160, just to feel, or 150, like they know what they posted in there in the job posting. And so I'm just wondering, will that deselect you at the beginning of the conversation?
So let me bring up two scenarios. There's the whether they posted the job, but whether they post the salary or not. Two different things. If they have posted a range, and the range they post is 125 to 150, okay? And then they say to you in the beginning of the interview, hey, just making sure you're comfortable with the range that we posted, which they should. Then you go, well, actually, I was actually looking for slightly north of your top end, slightly north. It's a good professional phrase, slightly north. I was really looking for a little more in the 160 range. Do you have any, Mr. Employer, do you have any flexibility? That's how you say it. That's not going to bounce you out. 10K, A, they probably have it. And B, it's within the range, right? You're not asking for 250. Does that make sense? It's still perfectly fine. They're actually they're expecting it in some regards, because that's what when I said there's usually a 10K differential, they're trying to get away with the 150. It's a business decision, right? So they're saying to themselves, oh, well, it's not, look, if somebody needs 160, look, we've got it. So that's why I'm letting you all know that in advance, because it's hidden on the posting. You can feel comfortable doing that, but I wouldn't ask for 200. That actually probably would bounce you out, because then they'll be like, oh, he's way overqualified. 10K, even 20K, possibly, but 10K for sure is not a problem. That's if it's posted. Alki?
I'll do two things. And it's obviously great advice. One thing, to Shira's point, it's always okay to ask these questions, always. The flexibility question, hey, I saw that number, what does it mean? Question. It's always okay to ask. I will throw out, because nobody's the exact same, and I've seen a lot of situations where the number is the number. So I went to the grocery store yesterday, and the number was the number. The sticker price was the sticker. That's different if you go to a bodega, something maybe you can negotiate, or a car dealership where there's a sticker price, but they are expecting to negotiate. So just to throw in the other side of that coin, there are some people where the number is the number, but our advice, and I would always give this advice, is I don't care if you see the number, ask, like pretty much ask, is that number the number? Or is there any flexibility? And do that early, because they will answer it. And I've been a recruiter in scenarios where I've had to say, yeah, the number is the number, or they might flex. Or I looked at certain people's background and I said, well, I didn't ask them what they were making, but they may have revealed it. Or I said, what's your top number? And when they gave it to me, to Shira's point, if it was like 30,000 over, or even 15 sometimes, or even 7, depending on where, because it has a lot to do with who you're talking about, what employer, what position, what title, what industry, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you start getting above, 7, 10, 15,000 a lot of times, depending on who you are and the level. Yeah, it's gonna be a no, but it depends. It really depends, but it does not hurt, and you
Yes.
should
Yes.
ask, is
Yes.
that number the number?
Yeah.
Is this the
Do
number?
you
Just
have any
like you do in any other
flexibility?
situation. Hey,
Mhm.
this I got this shirt from that rack and it says 30%. Is that for this shirt too? Ask.
Mhm. Absolutely ask.
Cool. No, this is really helpful because I like what you're saying. If you identify the number, and then you can pivot to, like you were discussing earlier, the benefits packages, the other perks, the other maybe hidden things that you don't know about. Maybe it's, um, I don't know, vacation days, all those kinds of things.
It's total package for them
Always
and for you.
ask. You won't know if you don't ask. And there's a lot of employers who won't give things, but I've seen a lot of things happen in my day. I've seen spouse um, bonus, sign on bonus, things that affect spouse and kids or relocation. So somebody once got relocation, sign on bonus, and some other things, but then something extra to move his motorcycles. He had like 4 or 5 motorcycles in storage, and they threw in an extra amount just to move the motorcycles.
He wasn't
High
working
level
for
position.
Harley Davidson, was he?
He had
Right.
about 4 or 5, and
That's
and
great.
they had given everything, and on top of it all, it was a high level position, but on top of it all, he asked, like, well, hey, I got some things in storage, I got my motorcycle, that's a separate whole move, it requires a trailer and all this stuff, and they gave it to him.
You never know. If somebody wants, that's the other thing. At the end of the process, if they make the offer, like we were saying earlier, that means they want you. They don't want to lose you. Okay? They will often do what they can to keep you. Now, that doesn't mean you should negotiate 3 times and ask for moon, stars, and planets, but ask for more than what you would normally do because you never know. Just go a little above. One time, negotiate once. You'd be surprised because it's your best time to negotiate. Because once you start, it's 2 to 4% COLA, right?
I,
Negotiate.
yeah, I, enough people, I don't think, have heard that you just said. So the way I phrase it is this, maybe the highest raise you ever get
Yeah,
is during the offer
that's right.
negotiation.
That's right. And it's hard when you're in transition because you're thinking, oh, I just need a job. But that's not how they think. They think it's a business negotiation. They think they want you, therefore, they need to do what they can to get you. If you were not in transition and you were just like, oh, I'm just considering, you might have a very different mindset. You may have, well, come to woo me. But they don't see any of that. All they know is they've got a great candidate that they want to hire, and now they have to negotiate, and they're going to do what they can.
Uh, One last thing that you made me think of, and again, the way that we work, it's a conversation from start to finish. We're talking, we're asking questions, we're doing all the details. We ask all kinds of things because we want to know what's happening, we want to know what's possible. We don't like surprises, and we're trying to be this great intermediary for our candidate, for our clients, all that sort of thing. A lot of times, candidates won't do that, and employers won't do that either. They won't share their whole hand, they won't share a lot of details. They won't think about all the questions. So you can learn a lot through the process of what they think of you. If you're being asked to come back for more interviews, that's a good sign that they're liking you and they're interested and you're seeming like a fit. If it gets to the offer, there's offers that are just thrown at you like, hey, we need an answer, in 8 hours. There's that, and then there's, wow, we've talked to a lot of candidates, and you're the best. that tells you a lot about your potential leverage is what they show you throughout the process. If they reveal their hand, like, we've talked to a lot of people, you're the only one who can do this, and wow, we're offering you this because we really think that you could take us to this place that we're trying to go. If they reveal a lot of that, you get a feel for your potential leverage,
What your value is to them.
what you have and your value to them. Again, if it's some, and this doesn't explain it all the time, but if they kind of throw an offer at you and it's like, all right, here you go, we choose you. Well, that means you might need to start asking some questions then, because they haven't really told you what your leverage is. So once you get the offer in hand, then you can start asking, hey, thank you. Thank you for the offer. I'm excited at the opportunity, blah, blah, blah. But I have I have a question. I was looking at this and looking at that. Would you consider this? And is that a possibility? And how much flexibility and that's how you learn then. If they're like, are you kidding me? How dare you? We gave you an offer. How dare you ask for something else? That's your way of learning, like what they think.
No, this has been really helpful. Thanks. I find it interesting during the interview rounds, oftentimes when you speak with somebody in HR versus, say, the team that you may be working with during their interviews, they're oftentimes outside of this salary discussion,
Right.
and that makes sense.
Right.
It's usually the hiring manager or
HR.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. All right. So let's use unless anyone has another question, I'd love to use the rest of our time for networking. Is that good? Okay. So the way we're going to do this, we'll go around the room, and since we don't have that many folks, you guys can have a little bit more airtime. And here's how I'd like for you to share, who you are and what you're looking for. I'm going to give you a formula. Some of you have heard me use this formula before. You're going to mention your lane and your community. Your lane is what you do. Your community is who you do it for. So your lane is your profession. So Mark Wilson, he's a CIO. I happen to know that. Okay. So that's his lane. And he's been working in the association community. So I've already, outed you. But anyway, that kind of thing. And if you want to say like another sentence about that, because again, we're small today and you want to say, well, kind of what does that look like? Or if there's a specific angle, feel free. But what I want you to do is do that, lane and community. And then if there's a target organization you're trying to get into, or a target industry specifically you're trying to get into, if anybody on this call has a connection to that organization or that industry or anybody in their network, I mean, you might know of, I don't know. I know, Aaron, you and Mark are in very different worlds, but who knows? Your next door neighbor is another association CIO. I don't know, but maybe you're like, oh, I've got a connection for you. Think about that as you're listening to your colleagues. Write it down. If there's a person that you can make a meaningful introduction to, please reach out. And what I would invite you all to do, if you're comfortable, is please put your contact information in the chat box. Okay. Your name, your email, your phone number, your LinkedIn profile will be great too, so you all can link in with each other. While you're all doing that, we do have a Google Sheet, and I always forget to put this in there, but I'm going to put it into the chat. It's for this call. It's just, people who've been on this call over the last while, you're welcome to put your contact info in there as well. Okay, so we're going to do Mark Felipe, then Mark Wilson.
Okay, thanks. I'm Mark Felipe. I'm a strategic communications and public affairs professional, and my preferred lane would be working with social impact PR firms that advocate on behalf of veterans issues. I spent 5 years at the Department of Veterans Affairs. Still want to help veterans, just can't do it at VA anymore. Thank you, Mr. Musk.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Mark Wilson.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, Sherry, you already let everyone know that I'm Mark Wilson. I've been a CIO for many years, and I really enjoy the application of technology for business. So I grew up in the project management space and then managing several different teams or functions within IT, and have been in IT leadership. and I'm looking for an IT leadership role. Doesn't have to be titled a CIO. It can be a VP, it can be a director. But absolutely interested in that. And yes, I have for the last 12 years have been in the association community and really like what it offers the community of just technologists within the association community, as well as just being able to work someplace where you can connect and have an impact with a mission-based organization.
Thank you, Mark. All right, Erin, and then Carol.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Erin, and my community is global health, international development. My lane is senior program officer, health policy specialist, policy advisor, project manager kind of role within global health. I'm looking for, well, some of the organizations I'm targeting are, for example, the World Bank. I just applied for a job there with the World Bank's global financing facility. Um, United Nations is where my last job was before 40% of us got laid off from the agency. I'm also looking at private foundations. For example, the Gates Foundation, Pivotal Ventures, Ford Foundation, Rockefeller, those types of foundations. And my particular interest within public health is maternal and newborn health, and also broader women's and children's health. And I love the global work, but I'm also open to and interested in domestic work because there's a lot of needs among mothers and babies all over the world. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, Carol, and then Lance.
Yes, hi, my name is Carol Chang. I am in healthcare project coordinating or management, and I currently have a part-time role, but I'm looking for full-time in that. And so I live in Houston, so looking around the Houston area and trying to get to more full-time opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Lance, and then Alex.
Cool. Hi, everyone. I'm Lance Hester. I've been a senior data scientist and data scientist for well over 10 years, but a general researcher. I completely enjoy research and uncovering solutions with data. So most of the types of industries or organizations that I'm looking for include your typical kinds of tech companies that are looking to expand in both data science and, of course, artificial intelligence. So I'm sort of feeding the beast or the enemy in a way. But I'm open to both remote and hybrid positions, but I'm currently located in the Washington, D.C. area, but uh, a lot of the tech fields can oftentimes be anywhere in the world, so I'm not afraid of that. But I'm looking to just expand more in the data science space. I've worked in both Internet of Things, cybersecurity, and smart grid technology. So um, the I guess power companies or the tech grid is an area that I could go into, as well as sensors or even the financial industry like Fidelities or Vanguards.
Excellent. Thanks. And then Alex. Alex, are you there? You're on mute. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he stepped away. All right. So with what folks shared, and I know you were all from very different lanes, different communities, all of that. Did anybody think of a connection, a resource, anything that could help out anyone on the call? Because actually, I did. Oh, Mark, go for it.
Yeah, and I posted in the chat, Aaron. I used to work at the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, and they have a lot of maternal health um, activity. And so certainly I could give you some perspective there. And if there are open positions, I could help you to understand the environment. So happy to help
Great.
there.
And
Thank you so much. I appreciate
mine
it.
was for Erin as well. And Erin, I'm sending you a private chat of a LinkedIn profile of a former colleague, somebody I knew from a while back. And she used to work at the American Public Health Association, and she's in the maternal health world. She's left since then, but she's probably good to work with. And feel free to mention my name. It's been a while, but she hopefully will remember who I
Thank you both so much. I appreciate it.
am. Mhm.
I had a question for Carol. I know you mentioned um, projects and operations. Are there any typical titles that you're looking for, or what are the titles that you've been searching for, just to kind of give a little bit more detail?
Project coordinator, coordinator operations. So a role that's between entry and mid-level. So project manager would probably be a little bit too senior at this time. So just a little step below that.
And you say in healthcare, is that with providers, hospitals, clinics?
Yes, any association with healthcare.
Okay.
I'll connect with you on LinkedIn.
And so Erin and Carol, healthcare or something, I don't know, maybe y'all should do a little offline chat.
Yes, will do. Thanks.
All right, and before we wrap up, any other resources just in general, not even for specific people, but maybe something you've come across in your job search, a cool tool, a cool resource, a cool tip, something that's worked for you, worked for anybody else. Could be around anything that you may want to share as encouragement for the group, or a cool story, a cool testimony, just something encouraging. Well, I'll share a little story. I shared this with, oh no, Erin, go for it.
Yeah, I was taking some notes and writing things down. But in addition to this group, I also really like the Career Network Ministry. Well, folks may be familiar, they have all kinds of events, and the job seekers accountability teams, which I just went through. I thought that was very useful. And I've been recently joining the Coffee with Bob Kay sessions,
Yeah.
which I think they're every
Thursday morning.
Thursday morning. Yeah, I'm
Right,
trying to.
isn't it every Thursday morning?
I've heard people say it's every Thursday. You may be right, every Thursday. I
Yeah.
thought it was every other, but
Yeah.
and he was also talking about you share the other, because I guess you're speaking at CNM
I
soon.
am. Yeah, next
Um,
on the 19th, I'm doing a presentation on networking.
yeah. So he was, saying positive things about you as well. I think that's a good networking opportunity as well. And yesterday's call, people were talking a lot about AI resources and trainings and things. So that's something I found useful.
Well, along the lines of the networking groups, I'm sorry that we don't talk about this very much. I should really. But there are several right here in the DC area that are very known and respected. So Career Network Ministry, that's one. They have a new website. I think it's .com, right? Anyway, Career Network Ministry. Number two, Career Confidence, career-confidence.org. Number three, 40 plus. So 40plusdc.org, 40plusdc.org. And then there's also for the 50 plus among us, there is, and by the way, everything I just shared was free. The one I'm about to share is a very, very low cost. It's $75. And it's for a 5-day training. It's called the Career Gateway, and it's run by an organization called JCA. So just put JCA Career Gateway in the search bar. And they have these boot camps for 50 plusers. And I would say 20, 25 people show up to this thing. And it's 5 full days, a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Monday, Wednesday. I happen to be the LinkedIn trainer on their second Monday. I've been working with them for like 15 years. I'm not the trainer. I'm just a guest slot. Trainer is Dr. Elise Barnes. She's wonderful. And they give you it's just locked and loaded, right? Like they just take your job search tips and tricks and networking and all the things. People have found it very, very helpful. But it's a limited slots, right? So you kind of have to sign up early. I think they do them, is it every month or every other month? Anyway, go see when the next sign up is. And those are the ones that are kind of here. Now there's all over the country, right? I know Carol, I know there's ones in Texas. In fact, there's because they're virtual, of course you can do anything these days. I know one in Austin that's called the Job Pad Club, or the Job Pad Launch Group. you just put job pad launch or job launch pad, something like that. They're
Launchpad.
the launch pad. Yeah. The launch pad is very, very, very popular. I've spoken there a few times. Great group. And they're all good, right? Like you've got speakers in some or networking in others, resource sharing, all these things. So I would just avail yourself and ask your colleagues what groups they're a part of, if they can recommend any resources to you. All right. Anything else on your hearts and minds you want to share before we wrap up? All right. Well, hopefully you got the Google sheet. So put your information in there and feel free to reach out to your colleagues on that sheet. All right. So with that, we'll end a couple minutes early here. And for those who would like to stay on the call for a short prayer call, I'll be leading that. And I look forward to seeing folks in a couple of weeks.
Happy Mother's Day, everybody.
Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you so much.